group of ladies journey into an island for vacation, only to find themselves fighting for their lives against vicious armed men. Tamsin runs across a desert to escape Rodriguez, who soon abandons his truck to chase her on foot. Unfortunately, Tamsin falls down a hill and gets stabbed by a branch. Seeing her injuries, Rodriguez reports to his boss that she's too damaged to be sold. Because of this, Rodriguez heads back to his vehicle to search for her replacement, leaving Tamsin to bleed out. Unwilling to give up, the woman yanks the branch out of her body and grabs a rock. She then sneaks up behind the man and bludgeons him. He takes out his knife to defend himself, but Tamsin grabs it and stabs him. Not satisfied, Tamsin then grabs a pickaxe from his truck and ends him with it. Days earlier, Tamsin and her friend Carla arrived at their apartment they'll be staying at. Lucy also arrived at her vacation home, calling her mother, Anna, to express her excitement over her trip. Unbeknownst to them, Andras told his crew, Canine, Eye Patch, and Rodriguez, that their client needed 10 blonde women. Their ship will arrive in 3 days to claim the women, giving them a limited time to gather their captives. Later, Tamsin and Carla head down the beach, not knowing that Rodriguez had spotted them. Miles away, Eye Patch and Canine targeted Lucy. The men sent photos of their targets to Andras, who approved of the 3 ladies. Carla and Tamsin later basked in the sun, ranting about the lockdown years ago. Tamsin then noticed Carla's tattoo, which she'd gotten after her sister passed away. Their conversation was interrupted when Jude accidentally hit a volleyball in their direction. He apologized and initiated small talk, learning that Tamsin was a vet student and Carla was a nurse. Jude then invited them for drinks, but they declined. Rodriguez watched this exchange, and as Jude walked away, he gave a discreet thumbs down, disappointing his accomplice. Later, Jude followed the women to their apartment to inform his partner on where they were staying. While hanging out in their apartment, Carla called her mother, Olivia, to update her on their plans. Their conversation was interrupted when someone knocked on the door, so Carla ended the call to check. As soon as she opened the door, someone pushed a chemical-laced cloth to her face, knocking her out. Tamsin soon followed and was knocked out the same way. Rodriguez and Jude eventually brought them to Andras' villa, where Carla was thrown into a prison containing more women. Meanwhile, Anna posted about Lucy on social media since she couldn't contact her. Olivia soon saw the post. Back in the basement, one of the guards, Collins, cut Carla's bindings, allowing her to ask where Tamsin was. The other guard, Jack, teased that she was in a special room for quality testing. As the guard stepped away, Carla turned to the women and asked what the men wanted with them. One believed they'd be used like her friend, so Carla urged them to figure out what was happening. Soon, Lucy did her best to fight off the men, but was ultimately thrown into the prison. Upstairs, Jude demanded for his pay, seemingly wanting to leave quickly. Andras negotiates to pay half now, inviting him to return tonight after they've inspected Carla and Tamsin. With no choice, Jude took the money and left, leaving Andras suspicious. Later, Canine and Eye Patch reported that 2 officers stopped them on their way back. Jude was with them in the car, so he hid under a blanket. The officers ordered them to open the trunk, and as soon as they saw Lucy, the thugs quickly dispatched the cops. As the 2 thugs carried the bodies away, Jude took the phones they'd kept in a paper bag. Meanwhile, the women's guards mocked the ladies by jokingly yelling for help, showing that nobody could hear them. Collins added that they were surrounded by 40 miles of desert, so if they even escape, they won't last. Upstairs, Andras reported to their buyer that they just needed 1 more woman before making the shipment. Pleased, the buyer hints further business with them. Eventually, the women's worried parents called them in vain, all while Andras relaxed inside his home watching a bound Tamsin on a bed. Worried that something serious was happening, Olivia called Anna, introducing herself as another concerned mother looking for her missing daughter. She shared that she had resources to help find their daughters, so she promised Anna to send a car to pick her up tomorrow. As night drew near, Jack threw a first aid kit at Carla, asking her to treat everyone's wounds. Carla did as told, though she used the chance to urge her companions to gather as much information as possible and take action. With this, Lucy recalled meeting Jude at the beach and that she told her mother about him. Jude drove her into a small cabin far away to have dinner. She felt uncomfortable but went in anyway. This allowed Jude to spike her drink, and the next thing she knew, she was already inside the trunk of a car. Another woman was backpacking when Jude passed by and dropped his wallet. When she picked it up, he offered her a drink as thanks. Most of the ladies recognized Jude as the same man they met. Louise, on the other hand, was abducted in broad daylight by Eye Patch and Canine. Chloe remembers that the 2 also took her, and she even saw Andras, believing he was their leader. Carla now believes that the men needed them to be healthy, otherwise they wouldn't bother treating them. To prove this, Chloe added that another woman was brought in earlier, but she fought back and injured her face. The men took a photo of her face and took her away to get rid of her as if she was a damaged product. With this information, Lucy concluded that they'd be sold, hence why they needed to be in good condition. Meanwhile, Jude returned home and called his sister, who was happy to say that her son was recovering well. Jude then offered to send money, lying that he was working at a bar. He then asked for a photo of his nephew, as if to remind himself of why he was involving himself with Andras' crimes. The next day, Carla found a small hole in the wall where she managed to grab some barbed wire. After some time, Jude went into the basement to say farewell to the women. He calmly told them to prepare for the voyage ahead, and before the guards could usher him out, he left behind a small packet that Carla snatched, realizing that it was the powder Jude used to spike the others' drinks. Elsewhere, a police cruiser came to pick up Anna. Soon, several police agents arrived at Olivia's home. Agent Leonard briefed everyone that at least 5 women went missing on the island of Puerto Ventura, including Carla and Tamsin, the latter of whom was already orphaned. Agent Stephens confirmed that the two were supposed to go hiking, but all the tour guides they contacted don't have them in their records. He adds that Lucy told Anna about a man she met. Agent Linda also announced that no local restaurants have had sightings of Lucy, but they were circulating her image to gather leads. Agent Margaret added that there had been no activities from the women's financial records in the last 36 hours, while Agent Michael reported that they filed a missing persons report to the local authorities. But since it hasn't been 24 hours, they hadn't begun investigations. Detective Collins, however, reminded them that the island was meant for parties with hundreds of missing or stolen phones, speculating that the ladies might eventually turn up with a hangover. Anna insisted that her daughter was missing and in danger, so she urged them to head to the island instead of waiting. Leonard assured her that they had the best experts and tech with them, but they first needed a lead. Otherwise, they'd end up with a wild goose chase. Meanwhile, in the prison, Carla deduced that they'd be shipped overseas tomorrow. With that, she began making plans, wondering about placing Jude's powder into their guards' drinks. She then saw Collins remove his shoes and told Lucy that glass shards on the feet can immobilize even big guys. Meanwhile, Andras visited the bound Tamsin. Eager to use her, he removed the tape over her mouth and let her sip some wine. The woman eyed the wine bottle and agreed to take a sip. Andras then untied her legs, but as he turned away, Tamsin spat the wine on her wrist, allowing the rope to slip. She then smashed the bottle on Andras' head and ran outside. She vaulted over the wall just as Andras radioed Rodriguez to catch her. Downstairs, Carla saw Tamsin run through the hole, giving her hope. At the same time, Lucy and another woman tempt the guards for service in exchange for beer. Lucy even suggested turning the security camera away to avoid letting the boss know, so Jack complied. Collins then gave Lucy his beer bottle. She took a swig but complained that it tasted awful, turning away from the men so the other woman could spike it. The women returned the beer just as Andras noticed that he couldn't see through the camera feed. He then radioed his men, forcing the guards to fix the camera and return to their seats, abandoning their desires for the ladies. Meanwhile, in Olivia's residence, Leonard discussed with Anna about the possibility of the perpetrators asking for ransom money. One of the police officers argued otherwise since they would have contacted earlier. Finally, as Tamsin fights for her life against Rodriguez, Collins loses consciousness in the basement. Still needing to take Jack out, the others started fighting, prompting him to open the prison to stop them. Carla uses this chance to strangle him with a barbed wire until he passes out. The women then run out, grabbing what weapon they can get along the way. Andras soon notices the empty prison on the camera, so he alerts his men. The men rush downstairs, only to be beaten by their captives. Lucy soon finds a wrench and uses it to bludgeon a thug chasing her. Nearby, one of the women trips, accidentally falling into a metal spike on the ground, killing her. Meanwhile, Eye Patch and K9 run after Carla and Louise. The men manage to corner Louise, but as K9 grabs her, she bites his thumb off. Carla can only watch in horror as K9 bludgeons Louise in revenge. Nearby, Lucy yells for Carla to run, so the two scramble between the rock formations. Behind them, K9 grows frustrated with chasing after them, so Eye Patch suggests going back and getting a car. Carla eventually reaches the cabin where Jude took Lucy. She tries opening the door and asking for help. With no answer, she breaks the window and slips inside, wounding her hand in the process. Desperately looking for help, Carla opens the front door, not knowing that this triggers a sensor that alerts Andras. He checks the cameras on his laptop to confirm that Carla's in the cabin, so he radios Eyepatch to get her. However, K9 struggles to start the car with his wounded hand. Eyepatch hastily patches him up before they drive away. Elsewhere, Lucy reaches a ruined cabin where she sees a disheveled man. She asks him for help, but the man can only listlessly offer a bottle of yellow liquid to drink. Thinking it's liquor, she drinks the liquid, but spits it out and vomits. Frustrated, she runs off. Inside the cabin, Carla finally realizes that she's in the cabin where Jude took Lucy. She also finds the camera on the ceiling. Realizing that she needs to escape, Carla grabs a bread knife and stuffed bread into a bag. However, when she looks out the door, a car is already approaching. Carla sneaks to the back door while Eyepatch enters from the front. Outside, K9 runs around the side. The woman drops the bag of bread by the back door as she exits, but then pulls back when she sees K9 outside. While the thugs regroup, Carla circles back and reaches their car, only to find the keys aren't there. The thugs soon return to the car, so she hides behind it as they drive off. On their way back, however, they spot Lucy and chase her on foot as she runs uphill. In the villa, Andras negotiates with the buyer to deliver 7 women first, then 3 the next day. However, the buyer insists on him doing his job before dropping the call. Frustrated, Andras demands his men to report. Back outside, Lucy runs into a cave system, so Eyepatch and K9 split up, not knowing that Carla is following them. Inside the cave, K9 soon finds Lucy. He grapples and punches her before pinning her down to take advantage of her. Luckily, Carla arrives just in time and slashes K9 with the bread knife. Lucy then pushes him away and finishes him off with the same knife. Carla yanks her to run back out, just as Eyepatch reached K9's body. The women then head between the rocky formations to hide. In Olivia's home, the crew receives a message from Lucy's phone, one that Jude sent yesterday. They triangulate where it came from and see a barren desert. Leonard commanded the crew to check all establishments in the area, assuring Olivia and Anna that they can charter a helicopter to head there. At the desert, Lucy's at the brink of a breakdown, so Carla encourages her. Lucy, however, recalls her violent lover who threatened her whenever she stepped out of line, going as far as strangling her when she resisted. She admits to Carla that she swore to herself never to let anyone treat her that way, so she begs her companion to run and find a town before it gets dark. However, the nurse refuses to leave her. Meanwhile, Andras investigates the camera recordings leading to the escape and saw Jude leaving something for Carla. Back in the desert, Carla recounts how her younger sister fell into the river they were playing in during a family picnic. Instead of helping her sister, she ran to her parents for help, thinking it was the right thing. However, she couldn't find her way back to her sister until it was too late. Because of that, Carla swore never to leave anyone in need behind, so she needs to return to save the other women. Lucy, however, insists that someone has to get help, so she'll leave Carla, promising to return. The two split up just as Eyepatch reaches them. Unable to chase them both, he goes for Carla, eventually managing to ambush her. Not far, Lucy hesitates, torn between leaving the women behind and running for help. Remembering Carla's story, she turns back. Lucy reaches Carla just before Eyepatch can stab her. She throws a rock at his head, making him drop his knife in surprise. This allows Carla to grab it and stab his foot. When he falls back, the two women beat him with rocks and Lucy stabs his other eye with a branch, blinding him. Enraged, he desperately reaches for the women, but they flee. As they do, Carla remembers that the thugs pursued them using a car, so she suggests finding it. Meanwhile, in the villa, Andras welcomes Jude back and leads him inside to show him the recording. Once his betrayal is confirmed, Andras smashes his head on the desk. Later, Jude finds himself bound as Andras forces him to walk into the desert. Once he's far enough, Andras shoots him and heads back. Elsewhere, Tamsin enters Rodriguez's car and drives, only to succumb to her injuries soon after. Not long after, Jude wakes up, having survived the shot. He hastily wanders off and finds Rodriguez's truck, seeing Tamsin's body on the driver's seat. He feels guilty for her fate, so he takes Rodriguez's radio, wondering on who to call. In Olivia's home, the agents inform the mothers that the chopper is ready for recon, but they suggest leaving at dawn. However, the women insist they go now, so Leonard radios the crew accordingly. Soon, he reports that the chopper found a villa in the middle of the desert, so they'll return for it at dawn. Nighttime falls and Carla and Lucy spot a helicopter from afar. A car also approaches them. In the villa, Andras sees a truck arrive and takes his gun. Jude hobbles out of the vehicle and tells Andras that he brought fresh merchandise as an apology. Unconvinced, Andras sneers and shoots him multiple times. He then checks the truck to find Tamsin's body on the back seat, only for Lucy and Carla to spring from the cargo bed and knock him out. When Andras comes to, he finds himself tied to a chair in the prison, surrounded by the surviving women. Carla demands he apologize for taking them, but he refuses. With that, Lucy holds a garden lopper threateningly. Andras still refuses to apologize, so Carla suggests they leave him until he gets arrested. However, Lucy insists that he deserves worse than life in prison and demands he apologize again. She counts down, but Andras calls her bluff, saying she doesn't have the guts. Carla urges her to leave, but Lucy's haunted by the memories of her boyfriend's maltreatment, recalling how she tried to stab him with scissors but was too afraid to do so. Finally, Andras taunts her, and this pushes Lucy off the edge, so she cuts his manhood off. When dawn arrives, the chopper arrives at the villa and sees the women come out. Anna and Olivia sigh in relief as their daughters are finally rescued.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.